All praise is due to Allah, who has united the hearts of the believers in Islam and has made it an obligation to remain united and has made it forbidden to become separated in his clear book. I bear witness that there is nothing worthy of worship except Allah, who guides to the straight path whom he wills, and I bear witness that our leader Muhammad is his messenger and the best caller to the way that is straight. O Allah, send your prayers and your peace upon our leader Muhammad and upon his family and upon his companions, whose hearts were united and whose souls were educated, so that they became victorious leaders. And what follows thereafter, O believers of Allah, I advise you as well as I advise myself, to first have the proper regard for Allah and thereafter be obedient to him. Dear believers, I greet you with the universal greetings of peace. Assalamu alaikum, which means peace be with you. This week we are looking at a rabbi that is said by the prophet Nuh, or the prophet Noah. And we've spoken before and we said that the rabbis are statements in the Quran that begin, "Oh my Lord," which are a personal request. And so this rabbi of the prophet Noah says, "Oh my Lord, my people accuse me of falsehood or accuse me of lying." And this was the concern of the prophet Noah, that his people thought him to be a liar. And we are all very familiar with his story. We are familiar with how he wanted to take the different creatures and the people who were believers from this rain or from this storm that was going to come and wipe them all out. And so as he was building this ark, as he was working on this mission that he was provided or given by God, his people would talk about him. They would laugh at him. And you can probably imagine that. If you were somewhere and this person showed up and said, "I've got to build this giant boat because a flood was going to come." And maybe the environment in which they were in didn't see rain for a while. Or maybe the idea that so much rain would come that you had to build such a large place or structure for security to be necessary to help you survive within that. And so as they would walk by and they would think, well, this man is just crazy. This man is taking all of this wood, taking all of these trees. He's taking all of these. Somebody would probably even some conservationists would say you're wasting all of these trees, and they would not understand that he was given a mission by God. And so his concern was not to go back and forth and argue with him, but he would go back to his creator and plead to him. He would plead to him his frustrations. He would plead to him his concerns. When we look at the story of Noah, we don't get many times where, like some of the others, we'll say prophets, or some of the other people that we have stories about throughout the Quran, he didn't go back and complain about his capacity to do something. He didn't complain about the task that God had given him. He knew that God gave him a task and he had to fulfill it. And so he was just going to God to have his heart comforted. Oh my God, Lord, they accuse me of falsehood. And so this is like, going to God and like, I hope you're not putting me out there, because this is what they're saying about me. I hope this task or this mission that you're giving me is right, because this is what they are saying about me. Now, because they say it and because I come to you asking for help doesn't mean that I will forsake it, but I just want to let you know. I just want to let you know this is what they're saying about me. So I really need you to come through for me. And we know that this was a serious situation for the prophet Noah, the prophet Nuh. We know from the story how even after he built this ark, all the time that and I'm sure it wasn't a quick process. All the time that it took for him to build this ark, and people talking about him, people making him feel bad about building a structure that would support his family, that would support life, that would be beneficial. This thing that he was building up to carry him through the storms of life. All the time it took for him to build this up, they were still giving him problems. And we know that once the rain started to come, and this thing that he was telling them was going to happen had started to happen in real time. People are getting wet. They're seeing the water come down. And we know the story of him in the boat that passed by the mountain, and he saw his son, and his son said that I'm going to go up a little bit higher. And we know from the story the wave washed him away. And then another rabbi by the prophet Noah, he said, "Oh my Lord, surely my child, my son is of my family." Because Allah had promised that he was going to save his family. And here was this conflict within Noah. But going back to this idea that they considered him or called him a liar. And after the very thing he said was going to happen began to happen, people then made their own decisions. They made their own choices to feel that they were going to save themselves after the promise of the Creator came true. He said, "Oh my Lord, they accuse me of falsehood." So this story of the prophet Noah, this experience of the prophet Noah of working to build something that's beneficial for him, for his family, for the environment, to be safe. This is sometimes our story. This is sometimes our situation, but like the prophet Noah, we just have to keep on building. أقول هذا استغفر لي ولكم والحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. So this story of the prophet Noah being accused or going to his creator, talking about how people lied on him or said that he was not telling the truth because he decided to submit his entire will to the Creator. His entire identity, his entire life, everything about him exhibited someone who was following the command of the Creator. Not something that was standing over his shoulder saying, "This is what you have to do." And checking every day, making sure that he was doing the things that he was assigned to do. The prophet Noah took on this whole expression of following the will of the Creator, of doing what he asked, and he worked tirelessly, building, not knowing if or when this thing that the Creator told him was going to happen would happen. He just kept building. He just kept hammering. He just kept nailing. He just kept collecting trees. He just kept shaping the wood, making this structure, making this form, making this thing that was going to carry him and the believers to success, or carry him and the believers to a much better situation than what was going to be in the environment for them. And so whether we look at this in its physical expression, Noah taking the boat, taking his family, the ones who believe, seeing that even though his son is birthed from him, still was not a believer, still decided to go up into his own intellect, go up on this mountain and get away from this storm, these trials, these tribulations that are existing in the world, not relying on the wisdom or the knowledge of God. And we think about all these animals that were taken up on this boat, that were taken up on this ark, where for whatever reason, God decided that these would be the specific animals that would be saved. God decided that these things, these creatures that may not have the same intellect, may not have the same desires or the same ideas or family structures or community structures that the humans have, were still worthy of being saved. It was all God's decision to make, that these would be the ones that would be in the area for him to find and to bring upon the boat. And for whatever it was that they needed, God provided for them in this structure, in this design, in this craft, in this place of safety, and carried them on to this other place of rest, where they could go out and be successful and continue to grow. But it was only because one person, it was only because the prophet Noah followed the commands of his creator, who believed in the commands of his creator, that his family, those who believed, those who understood and trusted what he was saying, and those animals who then went out and populated the world. It was only because this one person had faith in God to create an environment, a structure that was safe and secure, that all of these other creatures and people were saved. And so we may always look that maybe somebody else has to be the one. Somebody else has to be the one to have true faith in God, to truly live what Allah is telling us to do. Somebody else has to go out and be Noah. I'm just going to be the believer on the boat. I'm just going to be the brother or sister in the line for prayer. I'm not going to step out and lead something, even though people may tell you and talk about how maybe what you're saying isn't true. They're accusing me of falsehood. Oh, my Lord, they accuse me of falsehood. And so you turn to your creator and you express to him. You tell him your problems. You tell him your fears. You tell him your anxieties. But it doesn't mean you stop building. It doesn't mean you don't keep constructing this environment that may be a place of safety for those who can't even care for themselves. The animals couldn't even build this ship for themselves. So maybe you have to go out and build something. You have to go out and build something that cares for those who cannot care for themselves. This is the story of the prophet Noah, the prophet Noah. And his Rabbi, his plea or his statement to the Creator that said, oh my Lord, they accuse me of falsehood. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا تقبل منا إنك السميع العليم إن صلاتي ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين لا شريك له بذلك أمرت وأنا المسلمين الحمد لله رب العالمين آمين.